shit. Ma! Ma, come outside. There's a fucking moose or a buffalo or some shit. They're fighting. Where the fuck are you going? Ma! Holy shit. This is some fucking National Geographic shit. Ma, call the fucking cops or the ASPCA. There's animals fighting in the front lawn. Oh shit.
Revocable or irrevocable. In prior videos, I spoke about the importance of comprehending that administration of a trust, when it comes to inside running of it, and the title revocable has nothing to do with outside parties. Revocability of a trust simply refers to the fact that the grantor is the only one who has the power to dissolve the trust. Simple as that. I mentioned that in this video, where I further explain the details for those who want to use Delaware as a situs. If you've not watched this video when it comes to the different types of trusts, then I implore you to. If you've also not watched this video regarding how you create a trust, I also implore you to. And if you've not watched this video when it comes to how to structure a trust and the importance of it, I implore you to. And also, this one, relating to foreign trustees, when it comes to substantial decision of your administration of your trust, I implore you to. Because once you watch all that, the natural comprehension and stage of development will start coming into your mind, where you will realize, so all these different terms when it comes to trust are just function. Function. Function, function. You want the tool to function based on the use of gas as a fuel? Just know you need to go get the gas first. You want this tool to function based solely on electrical motors? Then you have to know, well, prerequisite for that is to charge it. Same applies with trust. What do you want? How do you want to do it? And what are the prerequisites to get it done? When it comes to pen and paper, it's as simple as declaring it. But whatever you are declaring, you must know what the function is, because only then will it be useful to you. Revocable trusts. Revocable trusts are the simplest of all trust arrangements from an income tax standpoint. Right off the bat, it's telling you whether your trust is revocable or irrevocable has a lot to do with how tax work. Now, let me juggle your mind a little bit and remind you that whether a trust is taxed or not has much to do with its origin, meaning where was it created? See the reason why we create a trust a certain way? It also has much to do with who has substantial decision. See the reason why you have a foreign trustee? And 3, it also has to do with the jurisdiction that the beneficiaries fall under. So with those 3 criteria of the trust origin, the substantial controller, and the residency of the beneficiary, use that as a lens with everything herein. That's the reason why I reminded you of those video thumbnails show earlier, because it's easy to look at information and forget about it. It happens. And I think it's normal, especially when dealing with something we've never been introduced to our entire life. And we've accumulated so much information decade after decade. Once we're now introduced to this new thing, it seems like rocket science, but really it's not. It just isn't. Repetition is the key to how human mind absorb anything. The same applies with information. Again, those thumbnail of those videos shown, I recommend you go watch those to kind of juggle your memory and your mind as to certain principles before you continue with this one. Revocable trusts are the simplest of all trust arrangements from an income tax standpoint. Any income generated by a revocable trust is taxable to its trust creator, who is often also referred to as settlor, trustor, or grantor, during the creator's lifetime. This just told you 2 very important things. One of them you already know, the other I'll newly introduce to you. But before I do so, let me read it again. Any income generated by a revocable trust is taxable to the trust creator, aka grantor, settlor. Let's pause there. The first part you already know is the fact that you always do an 8832 for that ins legis, which ties up back to the trust itself. because the trust itself is a person. So if any type of income assumed to be made by a revocable trust is always taxable to the grantor, but the grantor is tied back into the person called the trust itself. See how you create that loop? Whereby no matter what, the grantor is never liable for dinging when they function in their capacity. And on that same note of that first thing you already know, how will they know that the trust is making anything? Well, that occurs when you, the grantor, puts that social security number down. The national identification number used to track activities financially and other aspects of life. So, do you have a social security number? It's a question you should be asking yourself. See how you take your life into your hands to avoid certain things? Yep. Here's the second part that I'm going to newly introduce. It says, any income generated by a revocable trust is taxable to the trust creator during the trust creator's lifetime. During the trust creator's lifetime is saying estate tax. One of the ways to not qualify for estate tax, to not have your children inherit debt, is through a revocable trust. This is the reason why I say don't get attached to irrevocable trust being the same as someone can't take your stuff. The whole purpose of trust is to engage in control, arm's length control. So why would anyone want to be attached to the trust anyway? It's the control that matters. So the assumption of taxability for a revocable trust cease to exist the moment the grantor passes, meaning your offsprings or anyone relating to you do not inherit debt, aka estate taxes. This is one of the ways that people get away with so much in transfer of wealth by using revocable trust. This is because the trust creator retains full control over the terms of the trust and assets contained within it. 575 is CP575B. You know what? Let me just show you the IRS chart right here from the horse's mouth. irs.gov/IRM/part 21/IRM_21-007-013R. In other words, Part 21, Customer Account Service. Chapter 7, Business Tax Return and Non-Master File Accounts. Section 13, Assigning Employer Identification Numbers. What we're looking for is 21.7.13.7.8. Towards the bottom, right here. The table below identifies EIN notices that are generated by the ERAS, EIN Research and Assignment System. The research is to see the similarities in name, if there's any conflict on the address, and whether someone else already has that similar name, the sequence of the numbers that will be issued. When a new EIN is assigned, conditions for issuance of the various CP575 notices are listed in the table below. Again, conditions for issuance of the various CP575 notices. Conditions, like terms and condition in a contract, right? It's computerized and embedded as a code that spits out the summary of the condition of whether certain entities and how certain entities qualify for tax or not at all. This BMF refers to Business Master File. Let me show you something. This right here is an IRS release about the Business Master File, released in September 23, 2021. In other words, there's a separate database for businesses called the Business Master File. If we scroll down a little bit here, it tells us general business purposes, personal identifying information details, PII. I want you to listen very carefully, because that CP575B, that a 98 number is issued under, is under Business Master File. Remember, a grantor trust is taxed based on the individual grantor, who falls under the individual master file. So now you see the purpose of doing an 8832, whereby you merge 98 number with the individual to not qualify for taxes. But how so? Let me show you something that goes on internally, qualifies the use of 88.